Before we get started, I would like to say a quick thank you to Zao for sponsoring today's webinar. I would now like to play a quick 3-minute video from Zao before we start. Please make sure you have your computer volume turned up.
Hi everyone, we're really happy to be sponsoring this ERE webinar with Dr. John Sullivan, so thanks for joining. To tell you a little bit more about us, Zao's employee referral platform was built around the automation of referral best practices like those mentioned by Dr. Sullivan. Now, before we dive more into what Zao does, I want to touch on the main challenges faced by referral programs today. First, many of the best ideas around referral program management require a lot of manual effort, both for HR and for employees. Second, many referral programs face low and inconsistent participation rates. And third, most referral programs leave employees' vast social networks totally untapped. And finally, employees often don't know the status of their referrals, leaving a big hole in the feedback loop. At Zao, our goal is to make your referral program automated, simple, fun, and most importantly, successful. To begin, Zao takes care of manual tasks which can take up a big chunk of your referral program time. We automate all job sharing on social networks, so both you and your employees can schedule job sharing at any frequency that you choose on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, and Twitter profiles. The next thing that we automate is tracking your referral applicants. Zao seamlessly integrates with all the leading applicant tracking systems on the market, which allows you to automatically track all referral applicants. And to address our next problem, participation, we know that sometimes it's really hard to get your employees to engage. Many companies launch employee referral programs only to see engagement drop after a couple of weeks. Typical referral programs just aren't designed to maintain long-term engagement and participation. Zao uses gamification techniques that are designed to help keep your employees engaged both over the short and long term. All referral actions in Zao, including job shares, forwarding leads, and applicants, receive points and recognition. To show you an example of a gamified contest created with Zao, you can see a poster created by one of our customers, First Choice Emergency Room, here in the slides. They set up a point structure which rewards quality over quantity, and they allowed the points to be redeemed for company merchandise, providing instant rewards and recognition to their employees for all referral actions. Now, the third opportunity with referrals are the social networks of your employees. Social networks today are revolutionizing recruiting, and your employees are more connected than ever. Zao taps into employee social networks, finding the best matches for your open jobs. Any keywords that you add to your job will be automatically paired with your employees' friends' LinkedIn and Facebook profiles. Zao allows you to extend referrals and rewards to trusted friends of the firm if you choose to do so. If you decide to reward these extended refers, Zao takes care of all outside payments. Also, Zao is fully available on mobile devices, making it easy for out-of-office employees to participate socially too. And finally, Zao makes sure your employees are always kept in the loop. As soon as you mark a referral applicant as qualified, interviewed, or hired, employees will receive an automatic email updating them on their referral status. Zao shows you what's working and what isn't, so you can see how your campaigns are affecting engagement and hires. So that's our brief overview of what we do. If you want to learn more about Zao, we'd love to speak with you, so feel free to check us out at zao.com or email us at hello@zao.com. And thanks again.
Thank you so much to our sponsor, Zao. We are very excited to have Dr. Sullivan presenting for us on today's webinar, Employee Referrals Advanced Approaches. Our moderator today is Addie Sullivan, who is also an expert on this topic. Dr. Sullivan will be taking questions throughout today's presentation. Please use the chat feature at any time by typing your question located at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I'll now turn this over to Addie.
Thank you, Erin. Hi, everyone. This is Addie. Just really quick one to let you know that when your questions come up on that chat box, I'll be interrupting John and asking them for you. So without further ado, I'm going to let John take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Addie and Erin. So today's topic is an exciting one, employee referrals, looking at advanced approaches. And today I'm going to highlight the top 10 most advanced approaches that have the most impact on the business. So try to limit your questions to advanced approaches. I've done other webinars for our ERE where we've covered the basics, but these are advanced approaches and almost by definition a little more difficult to implement, but as I said, high impact. 4 topic areas for today. The first, shifting ownership, how to have referrals not an HR program or a corporate program, but have it owned by managers and employees, how you can provide tips, examples, stories to employees to dramatically improve the number of referrals. Prioritizing and focusing, referral programs do not have to cover every job, and the most effective ones do prioritize. And last, some advanced administrative things that can be done within the HR function to dramatically improve the results. So once again, please submit your questions at any time. And let's start with part one, the shifting the ownership. So the first question is, why is it so important to shift ownership to management? Well, the primary reason is because when you do bad hiring or bad referrals, the person that suffers the most is the hiring manager. So if they get weak hires, it's only natural that they would want more control over that process. So shifting control to managers so that they own what we call own, or they feel like, well, if it doesn't work, I have to do something, as opposed to blaming HR. Managers obviously have the most influence because they see employees face-to-face every day. They also have impact on employee rewards, on assessment, on job assignment. So if a manager says do this or do that related to referrals, they're just more likely to listen. They also know which employees have the best contacts, so managers can easily proactively approach people that they know are likely to know names, or even assign them a referral, which is another advanced approach, where you say, Mary, you're most likely to know this person. Reach out to them, build a relationship, make them a referral. Managers are always coaching, performance and innovation, so it's only natural for them to give some additional advice on how to make quality referrals to those individuals that need that help. They know motivators, so who knows what motivates people the best? So it's generally a mistake to focus employee referrals on the money, but what are the other things that cause people to want to do referrals? So managers generally know that, and they can customize their approach to excite individual employees. Managers also own the meeting agenda, so this is a huge deal. Many times HR sends out flyers or email to warn people that they should be referring. But it turns out the best approach to get everyone's attention is at a weekly or monthly manager meeting, where the manager tells the team this is important and tells them where they need more referrals. So getting on that meeting schedule, or what we call proactive referrals, getting right face-to-face in front of the individuals makes all the difference. And by the manager putting on the agenda, it lets everyone know that this is important.
Hey,
so
John,
yes.
I wanted to let you know that, there are a lot of people excited about this topic, because we've got so many people online. I just looked at the numbers, and they're great. So I wanted to ask you, so what are the factors that are spurring this increase in employee referrals? It seems like it's a huge topic right now, and the fact that we have so many people on the line for advanced features. What do you think is going on?
Well, the primary reason is that we now have data. So I've been, kind of the father of employee referrals for 20 years now, and most people thought it might discriminate, or they just thought it should happen naturally. But we now have data that shows that it produces the highest quality of hire, fast hires, and the highest volume of hires also. So data is what's driving it. HR needs to be in the data business, needs to understand what approaches have the most impact. We know from research by the Boston Consulting Group that recruiting in general has the highest business impact of any talent function, but the data has been driving this. Obviously, the economy improving, some new technology out there, and last, the growth of social media. So it used to be it was pretty hard to build a network of friends to make referrals, but now it's easy with social media. So a combination of data showing the business impact and social media is what's driving this. And actually, the target for many firms is now 50% and higher because of the quality of hire.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks for that.
So let's look at some action steps on shifting the ownership. How do you do that? Start by working with a small group of managers to identify which arguments work for them. So you can't you're trying to sell them on owning a program. They're really busy people. They don't want to own more of anything. So you have to convince them. So work with a group of managers to find those effective arguments, pre-test them so that you know that they work. Those arguments generally include what I just mentioned, the quality, the speed, the volume, and the cost. So where do you get the best quality or best performing hires? From referrals. What's the best referral? Asking your top performer who they learn from, who's better than them, who's superior, and that gets you quality hires. Next, since many managers are money-driven, I recommend that you don't skip this step. You need to quantify in dollars the dollar impact on a manager's business output that having great referrals will produce. So that means your results will go up, you'll meet your personal goals, and most important to a lot of managers, they'll reach their bonus. So one program we helped develop, the key driver was managers that used the referral program that owned it got much higher bonuses than the rest, and of course the rest quickly learned that referrals are powerful. You can also make your own job easier, so one of the things you want to show managers is that if you get a lot of referrals, then your job will be easier because you will spend less time on hiring, screening weak applicants. Retention rates of referrals are significantly higher than the normal hire, and then less discipline because they're performing better. There's less need to discipline them. So it will make their job easier, but it will also increase the business results and the opportunity to get a bonus. Next, you need to work with the HR group to make sure that the volume and the quality of referrals becomes part of a manager's bonus criteria, performance appraisal, and even promotion criteria. So if you have what we call a recruiting culture, it needs to be clear that even if you're the best manager on the planet, if your team doesn't bring in quality referrals, then you're not doing your part. And so they need to be assessed on how well they do that in performance appraisal, promotion, and their bonus criteria. Next, if you expect managers to know where help is needed, you need to provide them with data. So this is not real difficult to do, but very few do it, is they need to know which among their team are producing great referrals and who are not referring at all. So providing them with data by individual employees saying this person put in 5, but all 5 were rejected, this person put in 2 and both were hired, you can then, as a manager, help manage your team. So provide them with data on individual employee performance on referrals. Next, it turns out just in any field, when you establish targets, people are more likely to meet them. So we know we have data that shows that managers and teams that have specific referral targets is that, get 10 per month or quarterly goals, just reach those goals and produce better quality hires. Also, adding rewards, so you don't want referrals to be based on rewards, but since managers are so reward-focused, it only makes sense that if their team reaches their referral goal, they should get some sort of praise, recognition, or reward. Next, track results by manager. So this is really powerful. It takes some courage to do this. But if you track and report every manager's performance on referrals, and then you put it in a single report and you list the managers from best to worst on referrals, what will happen is when you send it to all managers, everyone who's at the bottom of the list will say, hey, that's embarrassing. I don't want to look poorly in front of my peers. So it's a major motivator, just sending out a report listing the referral rates of the manager from best to worst. And last, hold competition. So several firms have done this, friendly competitions between different business units or even within the same business unit to excite competitive managers and competitive employees. So make this, gamification is a way to make most work more exciting.
John, so of that list of 7, what do you see as the best way to measure employee referral effectiveness for managers?
Well, it's always the performance of the hire. So some people call it quality of hire, but no, do the people that you hire under the referral program produce 10, 20, sometimes 50% more, and that's why you hire them. So referral programs produce better performers. That's really the key. And so that's the best way to measure success. Obviously, you should quantify that. So you take the average revenue per employee, say it's $500,000, and we hire people that are 20% better, then you can clearly say, well, here's a significant, literally, 20% of extra performance. So data-driven, you quantify it, and certainly you show the performance improvement. So it's also cheaper, it might be faster, it might be a lot of things, but the performance level is the key data point.
And the retention, how about that?
Well, some firms don't have retention issues, and with the economy down, it hasn't been as big a selling point, but certainly I'm predicting, so turnover rates went up 45% during the last year, and so they're likely to go up again dramatically. So retention right now isn't the hottest issue, but it will be soon.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Next, we have to shift employees. So it's a similar approach, is that rather than focusing on rewards, how do you get employees to own filling in slots? And the answer is what we call hiring for the team approach, which is a critical advanced approach. Forget the money. If you see programs that push the money, that's making a mistake. Is you hire for the team, which means that if you bring in weak people, that your coworkers will suffer, the team's performance will suffer. So you just wouldn't do that to a friend. So you might refer someone because it would be the friendly thing to do, but once you realize that your job is to build the team and you and your coworkers deserve the very best, then the quality of referrals go up, the volume go down, and friend referrals that you barely know essentially go away. So when you have ownership, I usually use the rental car example. If you own the car, you treat it much better than if you rent it. And so if it's an HR program, once again, employees don't really spend a lot of time on referrals, and especially if you focus on the money, they're not going to do it for the team. So do it for the team, help build the team is the most critical motivator. Most assume, both managers and employees, that recruiters, do it better. And, I'm a big fan of recruiting, but it just turns out that in some cases, recruiters can't make contact, especially with what we call passive or already employed people, so they just won't talk to them, but they will talk to an employee. So with social media and the fact that this person is a peer allows them to make a contact, allows them to build a relationship that a recruiter just couldn't. So recruiters don't always do it better, and it does turn out that the highest quality hires come from employees, not from recruiters. Employees also own their own contacts. They know their contacts, so they know if they have one, and then they certainly probably know the best way to approach someone where a recruiter or someone at central headquarters wouldn't. So let's shift to action steps. So how do we get employees to own this? So once again, we start with what are those arguments that get them to do their part? So you have to develop and test those arguments. So usually the arguments for individual employees are you'll improve your team's performance, but more importantly, you'll work with better coworkers, and they'll be so good that you'll be able to learn from them. The new hires will have a better fit, so we want to assess people when we hire them and say, are you a good fit? And then you'll fill vacancies faster, so you won't have to do as much overtime or extra work because the vacancies are filled faster. You also want the manager to announce team success at meetings so that everyone in the room knows, wow, this is important, and the other employees will see it as, wow, this is great. So at least at year's end, but also periodically, announce who's making successful referrals and how they are impacting the team's results. Identify the top referrers is something that you have to do. So you want to tell everyone within the team who are the best referrers so that they can call them or use them as helping sources. Another event-type approach that has got employees involved is the opportunity to go to a thank you event, usually held by the CEO. And it's held once a year, but only people that made successful referrals can go, and as a result, they're recognized, but they also get a chance to meet the CEO. So that can be a driver of employee ownership.
John, here's a question for you, kind of with regards to that and from the audience here. Would the bonus part be a way to get employee ownership, and when should you pay it out? I know we've had that question a lot. I know my answer. What's your answer?
I didn't hear the last part. What should you pay out or when?
Right. When? The timing.
Well, the biggest mistake, so we're not talking about errors, but the biggest mistake in referral programs is withholding the bonus. So it's like giving your kids Christmas presents in July. It just doesn't work, and I have no idea why people do it. So it's a disaster. Do not give it to them immediately. In some cases, people literally do a kind of a prize control and give them the money in cash. So you want to make it exciting. You want to make it immediate. And then the other point is be careful of money. People will do some bad things for money. So a little money won't get them to shift, but a lot of money might have them put everyone as a referral, and so you get these spam referrals and it clogs the system. So it's critical to learn this, and only the advanced programs know this. You don't need money. Some of the best programs one got 78% and had no money at all. And so be careful of the money. Be careful of any program that says refer for the money. Refer because you want to work alongside great people. All right, let's look at providing some tips and examples. So I recommend what's called a referral toolkit. So why? Well, first of all, you have to realize that most people you'd think know how to make referrals, but they don't. And in some cases, engineers really don't have people skills or wouldn't go to a conference and talk to other people. So you can't assume they'll automatically build relationships. And it turns out if you don't have a program, you'll generally get 4 to 6% of referrals, where, as I said, you can get well over 50 with a program. So don't assume that employees know how. And that means you need a referral toolkit, which is a database listing of approaches, and allows the employee to pick and choose which tools they're going to use or which approaches. And that's critical because you really don't want someone from corporate saying you must do things this way. Just a toolkit is an educational tool. So I have here the contents of a typical toolkit. So first of all, what are the first steps? So getting people started is a difficult element. So work with the people that have recently learned how to do referrals and develop these first recommended steps, and then a list of errors that beginners should avoid making. Also, list the best internet sites. So your employees, when they make a referral, you should ask them, well, where did you find this person? And if you learn the best social media sites or internet sites to find people. And generally, it's not job sites. It's discussions, or what we call talent communities, discussions on how I can be a better engineer or a better HR person. So give them a list of those sites. Also give them blank templates, so fill in the blank templates and samples of weak and excellent profiles on LinkedIn or Facebook. So you don't want trial and error learning. You can say, hey, you can put your profile together any way you want, but here's some samples of really good ones, and here's some common errors. Next, blogs can be really effective, so you might want to give them a sample blog or at least some topics that they could cover to attract people initially to make their first contact, and then over time you'll assess them. Meeting people at events, it turns out that is a great way to find top talent, but you have to list the steps to do that, where you meet people. Is it at parties? Is it asking questions? And then what are the most effective events within our industry? Next, the company sell sheet. So Cisco started this 20 years ago, and it's still a good approach, is make a list of the best practices or the positive factors that attract people. So when you have an employee who meets someone, they can read from that list the positive factors. And then also put in arguments that counter any negative factors that people say about your firm. It's also important to recruit diverse individuals, so some people mistakenly, without data, assume that you might not refer people from diverse areas, but the answer is referral programs can actually increase diversity. So what you have to do is learn from successful referrals that are diverse and then provide advice based on that. What's the best way? And usually it's a marketing approach where you make a list of what a diverse person looks for in a great job, and your sell list includes arguments or facts that show that your company is inclusive and listens to diverse people. You also want to provide them with a list of help sources, internal and external, so they have need help for referrals. You provide it. And then a list of internal referral champions, which are essentially coaches that will help people. Last, as in most help sources, frequently ask questions and answers so that they don't have to hesitate and wait for a call back from someone. They can just get their question answered immediately. And then
I got a couple of, I've got quite a few questions here about this, and mostly with regards to the incentive in terms of getting information to employees here. And what is the most successful incentive used to reward a great referral?
Well, as I said before, the most successful incentive is not money. It's do it for your team, do it for your coworkers, do it so your company will do better. If you're going to use rewards, usually the most effective are not large amounts. So sometimes it'll be a drawing, and the winner will get a trip to Hawaii, or sometimes they're not money at all. You get first choice of vacation, or you get to meet with the CEO, things along that line. And you test it. You go sit down with employees and say, would this excite you? What would excite you? What would cause you to spend this time? But be careful. If you're doing incentives, you're making a huge mistake. Most people use incentives, but the best firms don't need them. And if they do, they get your attention, but they're not so powerful that they cause you to forget the fact that you're doing this for the team.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
All right, and the last slide here is an example of a talent mindset toolkit. This one's from Whirlpool, and it lists, how to build relationships, where are places to look for great talent. So it helps people that are uncomfortable with making referrals learn how to do it quickly. Next, the fourth action is to provide a story inventory. Now, this is critical. Most firms don't do this, but what you have to realize is that the best way to sell someone on a firm is a story. It's an example. It's something that's real. So you can, give them a website. You can make a list. It pays well, but they want to hear how employees are treated. They want to hear what a fun day would look like. So a story inventory has the highest impact of any advanced feature. So add it to your list. Make it easy for people to find stories. So a story inventory is what it sounds like. It's simply an inventory, online inventory or a library of stories that illustrate what makes this company a great place, and you should give access to recruiters, managers, and obviously employees. On the next slide, I have a list of the contents for a typical story inventory. So exciting management practices. So at Facebook, for example, when you finish onboarding, they let you pick your own team and your own job. Well, that's exciting. Firms that illustrate your culture, your values. The little guy makes it big. So these are stories where someone started at the bottom, worked their way up, and places like Walmart really excel at promoting their people within, and many of their senior managers came from within. Even products. So the Google approach includes product features that excite people. Innovation, if you're trying to attract innovators, as you should be, look at some examples of how someone innovated and look how well they accomplished it. Any unusual benefits or unique facilities. So if you're at a Google or a Facebook, you might want to highlight the free ice cream store. How you practice diversity. So not a diversity statement, but examples or stories. Examples of how your managers act. So one of the prime reasons that people who are really good performers take jobs is I have a great manager. So you want to illustrate that in stories. Any employee success stories or employee profiles. Here's a person just like you, and look how well they did. And last, what makes it fun? So here are 3 quick examples of organizations that do story inventories. The best is the Google, they call it the Project Buffet. It lists the best places what makes it a great place to work, product features, all sorts of things. So it's easy to find out and share with candidates the great things you do. Zappos is unique, so for years they put together a book, literally a book that you could buy of 300 different stories. And then this last one, Microsoft Spread the Love website, allows employees to write up their own story, and so this is a good way to capture them, have a Spread the Love one, and then they can share those stories with friends and family in order to encourage them to make referrals also.
I'm going to mention something. The ones I really enjoy hearing about, and actually I've seen a couple at companies, is when they've told the employees to make a video, right off of their camera of something fun that happened to them during the day. Most companies, when they've done it, they have received hundreds of them. And then they put them on their website, and then, people who are interested in the company can watch those. It just seems phenomenal about the response. And it actually, for those companies that aren't that fun, turns them into a fun company. It starts getting people all worked up about, hey, we do things fun. I think that is just a great way of doing the stories.
So I certainly agree. So, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, think what a video is worth. So anytime you tell a story, you need to be authentic, which means believable, credible. But a video, made by employees certainly does. So Deloitte started that with what they call their film festival, where they got literally hundreds of employees to make a short video, and you can do a short Vine video or something now, but put them on YouTube, make it accessible so that people can see, hey, this is a fun place to work and hear examples. And Zappos is a great example of a firm that puts videos about how it's a fun place to work on the Internet. So yes, videos, whatever you can do to show the excitement. And it just turns out words don't show the excitement as well as words accompanied with a video. All right, next we need to talk about prioritization. So there are areas you do not have to accept referrals for every job. So many firms only accept them for open jobs and then for targeted jobs. So we have three categories of targeted jobs. So the first is accept referrals for mission-critical jobs. These are jobs that, if they're not filled, the organization just can't produce its product. Revenue-generating jobs, it turns out that executives care about revenue. Let's focus our referrals on revenue-generating jobs or revenue impact jobs. So, if someone collects money or a salesperson, obviously you want referrals to focus on those jobs. Wherever product innovation comes from, any job where you've had a high referral success rate, and it turns out there are some jobs that don't do well with referrals, like some finance jobs where people aren't well connected. So focus your referrals on those jobs that have had a high success rate. Hard to fill jobs, executive jobs, and then sudden vacancies. It turns out if you put a sign in the lobby or a sandwich board saying, we need this kind of engineer, we need this kind of accountant, it turns out that referrals are incredibly fast. So focus on these high priority job categories. Next, focus on the high impact individuals. So regardless of their job title, you're looking for innovators. So you want to tell your employees, look for innovators within our industry and try to turn those into referrals. Look for employees that work at key competitors. So one of the best referral programs is don't refer people that work at Google or refer people that work at a target company. So you have your employees focus on finding individuals or building relationship with individuals they know that come from key competitors. And last, as I mentioned before, focus on diverse individuals. So how do you improve diversity or success? Usually you set diversity as a target, you provide referral tips, and maybe even an additional reward or recognition for diverse hires.
John, I have a question. I'm sorry. About the diversity. Can there be a negative diversity impact with referrals?
There can be, but I haven't seen one in a decade. So maybe in a backwater town, there would be old-fashioned people that wouldn't know or wouldn't refer people of different diverse backgrounds. But the internet allows you to meet people all around the world. You can't always tell what race, creed, color, age they are. So you meet lots of diverse people. And you just have to simply say, we're looking for diverse people, explain their value. So diverse people come up with diverse ideas. They look at diverse approaches. Diverse means you're more like our customers, and therefore you're more likely to help us produce products the customers want. So, no, I haven't really seen one, at least data-wise. It's an old wives' tale. Don't believe it. The EEOC itself uses employee referrals to hire. So, no, you should monitor your diverse percentage and look for problems, but I haven't seen a problem in this area in literally 10 years.
Well, you mentioned in your answer there about knowing people from around the world. And do referrals work around the world?
Well, it used to be a problem, and there's still some minor problems. So if you give someone in say, India or Bangladesh a $5,000 bonus, that's more than their pay, and it does cause people to stop working and start focusing on referrals other areas of the world in the company. But, India has some of the best, Tata and Infosys have some of the best referral programs going. So the answer is no. People have learned. The old adage, the Google thing is great people know great people. And so it turns out that just knowing them doesn't help your firm, but telling your employees, build relationships, convince them to leave their current job. So most good referrals are what we call passive. They're currently employed. They don't need a job. They wouldn't apply for a job. You have to talk them into it. And referrals are the best way around the world. People know people around the world. So when we search your database on your phone, on your computer, on whatever, we find people that live all around the world. So it used to be an issue, but now other than the pay differential, there's really no difference. And there are programs that work well in Europe. Accenture has a great one that works in Europe, Asia, pretty much everywhere.
Actually, I know of a company that has their employee referral program in 6 different languages, and it's 80 countries, and it's a centralized employee referral program. And somebody here asked about, well, can you do this in a high-volume environment? It's like, absolutely. The company that I'm referring to is absolutely one of the largest companies and definitely high volume.
So all of the tips today, the advanced tips, are for a large company. So I work with corporations, and that's the focus. So you don't need it for a story inventory, for example. If there's only 5 people, you all know the stories. But when you have 1,000 people or 30,000 people, the stories don't get spread, they don't get told, they don't get put in an inventory. So no, these are approaches for larger corporations. They do work in volume, or we wouldn't be discussing them today. All right, we talked about high-impact individuals. The last area of prioritization is what are the most effective sources. So it turns out that Homer Simpson refers people too. So referrals aren't perfect, and there are some sources which produce high-quality hires, higher quality hires than other sources. So you should prioritize when a referral comes from one of these sources. You should treat it specially, expedite it so that it gets at least treated faster. So referrals generated by top performers are 20% at least better than referrals from average performers, so focus on your top performers. Employees with past referral successes produce better referrals because they're good at it, so prioritize those when they come from a top referring employee. Boomerangs turned out to be some of the highest quality hires. Why? Because you know them, they know you, they work for you. You only ask them to come back if they were top performers. New hire referrals during onboarding. Turns out the first day, people going through onboarding, who else is good at your firm, fresh in their mind, and because they just left, when that person calls them or contacts them, they'll probably respond because they want to know what happened to you at the new firm or what the new firm is like. So onboarding referrals. Give Me 5, which was something that Google used. It's essentially a categorized referral where you go to an individual and you say, who's the best person you know, who's a team manager, who's the best person in college, who's the best person at innovation, who's the best person at writing or whatever. So that's really powerful. And then last, referrals from top previous hires, references, from top previous hires. So you just call the references of someone you hired a year ago that turned out to be a superstar and just ask them who else is good. So even though they're not employees, if they knew one good person, they're probably going to know another. And so they're cheap, they'll do it for free, and it's really powerful. So prioritize, focus on those sources, referral sources or referral sub-programs that produce the highest quality hires. And the lowest quality hire comes from a spam message or a note in the bulletin board that says, hey, do you know anyone? Or here's $500 if you find someone. Produces low quality hires. Do it for the team. Find someone that you learn from. Find someone that's smarter than you. Those are the best referrals. So prioritize. Don't treat all referrals equally. And then here you see Homer refers people also. So weight your referrals based on the recommendations in the past. So if you've had high quality hires, high quality referrals, whoever you recommend would get faster and more attention than someone who refers really weak candidates.
Yeah, right, I know companies, John, I've read about this. I've read that some companies require the recruiter to get, at the very minimum, 2 referrals from a new hire. So it definitely is many options there.
Great. All right, action number 6, let's talk about assessment. So the biggest problem with referrals or weak referrals is that the unknown people come up to you and say, please make me an immediate referral. So you don't know this person, you don't know their work, therefore if you refer them as a courtesy or just because maybe you'll make money out of it, you're going to clog the system with weak referrals. So as many as 70% of referrals at top firms are these people that came up to you, unknown people, and said, make me a referral. They were not discovered by the employee. They weren't assessed by the employee. The employee has no direct knowledge of their work, which means there's a low probability of success. So you want low-volume, high-quality referrals. You don't want junk or spam referrals, and you certainly don't want strangers, what we call strangers, being referred by employees. So the fully assessed referrals are the ones that you want not to clog your system. So I recommend that. Now this is another critical thing if you're going to be advanced. Don't let them just put in a name or a resume. Require your employees to provide the following information. What job title or rec are they referring for so that we know that you know there's an open job, it's a priority job, and this is the job we want to compare them for. You should know their work. You should have read or seen or worked with them so that you've assessed their work. So this is critical. I've seen, I know, and I've assessed your work. So if you're a writer, I've read your articles, I've read your books. If you're an engineer, I've seen your work. If they haven't, then we don't want them as a referral. Next, assess, rate, and tell us about their skills and knowledge and show us how they're superior to what we have now. So again, we're looking for high-quality referrals with skills that are superior to our own. Next, cultural fit, assess, rate, and tell us about how they fit because we don't want to hire people that will dilute our culture. So fit assessment, skill assessment, work assessment are critical. Next, have you sold them? So one of the things most people forget is your job as an employee is to sell this person so they would accept an interview if they were called. So did you sell them? Would they respond with a yes if we called them for an interview? That's a critical part. And then last, you have to honestly rate them on an overall scale of A+, A, or B+. And obviously we don't want B+ or below. So pretty simple. Make sure that they're not strangers. You can't refer someone that you don't know, you haven't read their work, you don't know their skills, you haven't assessed their skills, assessed their fit, and sold them. All right, next we have some administrative actions. So within recruiting or HR, there's certain things you can do to dramatically improve your results. And they're simple things, but they have high impact, and because they require change on the part of recruiting, they're advanced approaches that take a little effort. So the first is what we call a referral talent community. So if you look at hiring, so Google did this with what they call Project Janus, look at people you missed that you didn't hire. How many of those are really good? And why are you missing them? So it's possible that you're not getting referrals that are hired because there was intense competition, or maybe they dropped out for whatever reason. But when you get a high-quality referral, you want to note that and say, these are great people. I didn't hire them for that one job. Maybe they didn't fit the team, but they would fit the company some other place. So realize that you are missing some people, how do you make up for that miss where you've already rejected them or they've already dropped out? But you can build a talent community which will minimize their frustration because you're showing your interest. You tell them you want to keep in touch with them, and that's a good thing. So it's an invitation only top prospects that, maybe they were finalists or certainly they were really good, and so they're A+ referrals. We invite them to our online community, which can be on any social media, can be our own firms, but it can be Facebook or LinkedIn, but you have to be invited. And then you send them periodic information on the firm, and obviously you push relevant jobs to them so that they learn more about the firm, and they know that even though they didn't get the job the first time, that they're still valuable. You should also prioritize them, so when a new job comes open that's relevant to them, they should be tagged as a high priority referral and be expedited. So you have to treat all applicants the same, but you can certainly interview and talk to the highest quality people first. So you tag them and for prioritization so that when a new opening comes up, they get consideration almost immediately. All right, next, designated referral recruiter. So it turns out that a lot of recruiters, if you talk to them, don't actually like referrals, and sometimes they ignore them. And the reason for this is because they like to own the end-to-end. So if you're an end-to-end recruiter, full-phase recruiter, you don't own part of this because some employee did it. There might be some jealousy. They're getting a reward if they get the person hired, but you don't get a reward if they get hired. So there's just a lot of problems. So the way you solve that problem is you designate at least one recruiter to take ownership of referrals. Some firms have entire teams of people that are designated as referral recruiters. And the key is that they learn over time that referrals are special. And we know the number one reason why people don't refer over time is that they get frustrated because of a bad response rate or a slow response rate. So avoid a slow response rate by having designated recruiters, and it could be a part-time designation, but they specialize in referrals and they expedite them. They treat the people special. So there's one firm that if you make a referral, that individual will be contacted within 4 hours. So responsiveness is critical. All right, next, mobile phone submissions. So it's clear that the mobile phone has taken over the world, and so most referral technology is based on the PC. So you have to find a way not just to start the application, but to complete a referral directly from your mobile phone. So the employee can, when they're on a train or something, they say, hey, I want to refer someone. They can do it from their mobile platform, complete the transaction. And from the other side, if your company requires, as some companies do, the referee to make an application, then you want to make sure that can be done on the mobile platform also. So you have to tag these so that the system sees their referrals and make it easy. So this would be true of all recruiting. If you're not using the mobile platform, if you can't allow people to apply strictly using their phone, that's a serious issue. But especially for referrals, because a lot of them are, I just met someone and at a conference, and you want to immediately have them able to make that referral without having to wait till they get back to their desk. Also important to notice that when you make referrals, speed does matter. So try to respond really quickly, usually within 24 hours. Some firms expedite it so that you're guaranteed, if you're going to get an interview, that it will occur within 5 days. All right. So now we're going to the last action item, which is expanding referral eligibility. So for some reason, programs have been around a while. Many firms have restrictions. So they say, well, managers can't refer or HR can't refer. Well, you really can't have restrictions on people that meet and get to know people that are top performers all the time. So managers meet probably more top performers than the average employee does. HR always interacting with top performers online or at other firms. So an error is to overly restrict who can apply. So expand eligibility, first of all, so that managers and HR can, and this is problematic if you worry about a conflict of interest. So if you're not offering a reward, it's not an issue. But if it's a large reward, you might think that managers might, refer someone to get the bonus. So in those cases where there's a potential conflict of interest, have them forego the reward, or even better, have them have an option where they can donate it to charity. So the charity option is a really great thing. And we were talking earlier about rewards. Well, not everyone is money-driven, but the ability to donate money to charity excites some people. It doesn't have the same tax implications. So find a way to include managers and HR people. You might exclude recruiters, but recruiters aren't stupid. They're not going to ask for a referral bonus on a hire that they are assigned to. Next, college referrals. So it turns out college students are more well-connected than anyone in the normal employee realm. So why not have college students, especially interns, allow them to make referrals, allow them to use their network at other colleges to recommend top people. Obviously, people that are recently out of school that your company has hired should be encouraged to make referrals. So for people that are 1 or 2 years out of school are likely to still know people. And so it's cheap, it's quick, it works almost immediately, but very few firms have college referrals. And last, non-employee referrals. So I wrote an article on this recently. It turns out that there are a lot of people that know and care about your company. So in addition to full-time employees, you have part-timers, you have seasonal workers, contractors, consultants, and even vendors, that their success is based on your success. So if I'm a vendor and I sell to you and you're not doing well, then I'm not going to sell as much. So as a vendor, I meet many companies, which means I might meet many top performers. So there's some advantage to saying, hey, when you're visiting other firms or you're online, hey, even though you're not a full-time employee, why don't you refer? So it turns out they make some really high-quality hires. They normally don't want money for it, or if they do, they want like a product sample or something that doesn't cost you anything or very, very little, and it excites them. So we're at the end of our formal slides. Addie, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Well, great.
So my question is, did I succeed in having you get a handful of takeaways? Hopefully it made you think. And the key is advanced is more difficult. Yes, of course, but you get paid a lot of money to do difficult things. So if you really want to make a difference, if you want to double the number of referrals, or if you want to get over 50%, you have to do not all, but many of these advanced approaches.
Great, John. Thank you so much. A lot of information there, I know. And we've got a couple of questions. I don't think we'll get to them all, but we're happy to answer any questions afterwards through email, going back and forth. But one that we might have a little discussion over is whether it's important for employees to be involved in the interviewing and the hiring process of the referral. And I'm assuming they're saying the employee who referred the referral being involved. What do you think about that?
Well, you're not just trying to find talent, you're trying to sell talent, convince talent, and assuming that this talent is fully employed, you have to convince them to leave an employer and come work for you. So that selling takes some effort. So yes, you want to have, once the person is on a final slate to be interviewed, you want to talk to the employee, especially if they're in your team, and say, help us understand what are the skills we should look for in the interview process, what is the best things about them, but also what's the best way to connect with them and to sell with them. Now, I haven't seen people that automatically put the referral on the interview, but it's certainly common if that referral was made within a team that person would be there. So yes, you're trying to, when the person walks in, they want to be greeted by someone they know. They want to feel like they're going to be kind of coached through the process. So a recruiter can do that, but the person making the referral can help. And the only real issue is, does the recruiter or the manager prefer it not to be that way. But yes, use their help to identify the skills so that the manager sees those advanced skills, identify how to sell them, how to convince them that they should make a switch, and then make sure that the manager knows that because you have to sell them. And incidentally, one of the reasons why referrals stay so long is that the person that referred them acts essentially as a mentor. So if I referred you, I don't want you to fail, and if I see you struggling, I will coach and help you. So one of the reasons for the high retention rate is that those that make the referrals actually do coach them through their initial period.
Yeah, true. I agree. Well, I'm gonna give you another one here, and I think it's an important part of the referral program. This individual is just starting their referral bonus program, and so they want to launch the program, and they're looking for what is the best way to celebrate the launch of the program. And I kind of see this as an important one because getting the message out is a tough one, but some companies have done it in such a fun way that I have seen the impact of a great launch. How about you?
Sure. Well, we did one at Agilent, and so the best way is have the CEO announce it. So when the CEO announces anything, it's clear it's important. So if you have a celebration and the CEO stands up and says, I'm the chief recruiting officer, CRO, nothing's more important to us than this. I want you to all to participate. But again, it's just someone telling you to do it. The key is, as I mentioned before, shifting the ownership. So then you need a manager to say, no, this isn't some, PR stuff from the corporate. We need to do this every day, every week. So the manager appoints employees, makes each one what we call a talent scout. The CEO reinforces that and say everyone has to be a talent scout. But you also need to change the metrics, the rewards, so that people see, not just words. So just having a good party is certainly a good thing to do, but it doesn't guarantee long-term referrals. What does is having individual managers say, the CEO says it's important, but it's also important because it influences my business results. It's important because it helps me get my bonus. And every employee says, I don't want to work alongside Homer Simpson. So when I see a top performer, I'm going to recommend them so that it minimizes that chance. So help the team shift the ownership to managers and employees. That's the long-term key. So initially, CEOs saying this is important, CEOs actually making referrals, announcing that you made successful referrals, putting the number of referral thing in the lobby. All those things are important, but in the long term, it goes back to ownership. If managers own it, if they see the value of it, if employees own it, they see their role, then this problem goes away and you'll get referrals forever. There's one firm, for every job, they get 8 referrals. There's a target for you.
Yeah, that's a big target. So it really is a combination. That's what I have found. It really is a combination from the CEO, from doing PR work online, offline, through communications throughout the company. So, there are quite a bit of examples out there, I think, for that. Well, we're down to, I think, the last minute here, and I want to make sure I give Erin time for any last-minute things. So, Erin, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Thanks so much, Addie. I know we'd like to take more questions, but we are at the top of the hour. Just a quick reminder that by the end of the day tomorrow, you'll see an email from us, which will include today's webinar slides, recording, and information containing HRCI credits. A big thank you to Dr. Sullivan and Addie for sharing with our audience today. Another huge thank you to Zao for sponsoring today's webinar. Don't forget to check out Zao's services and our upcoming webinars at ere.net. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Erin.